Bridget Eileen Cisco, founder of Exalted Publishing House. Today, I'm here with Susan Bennett Fisher and Martin Fisher of the Body of Nine. Welcome, both of you.
It's great to be here.
Amazing. It was an amazing experience to have a session with the both of you, as well as my husband. And I got to learn a little bit more about your work. And I'd love to take this interview to dive a little bit deeper into everything that you do, how it can help us in terms of life, business, leadership. So I'd love us to start with the overall, what is the Body of Nine for anyone who's here listening?
Well, as it turns out, there's 7 billion people in the world, and we tend to think either everyone's completely different than us, or some people think everyone's a lot like us. We all have the same body, etc., etc. But what we discovered about 10 years ago is that there are actually 9, perhaps what you can call them, is earth suits. And so there are 9 different ways that we turn up in the world. And one of them that is yours happens before you're born. And we call it your natural number. And it shapes your physical reality, your spiritual reality, how you connect to other people, how you like relationships, and so on and so forth.
So on and so forth is like it affects everything that you do and how you interact with everyone. And we experience the world in our earth suit physiologically different. And that affects how our senses actually work. So we've developed a system that we can look at your body, we can look at your face, the shape of your face, the quality of your eyes, the shape of your body, how you move. And from there, we can distill which of the natural numbers is active in your body.
And this is important for a couple of reasons. The main one being is the numbers don't repeat in families. So your parents are not the same natural number as you, your brothers and sisters are not the same number as you, and your children are not the same number as you until you get to 7 or 8 children. And so what this means is that there's a huge reason that everyone miscommunicates, because the same words mean something different. You know, we've been taught that 50% or more of our communication is body-based, but our bodies are different and they're communicating differently using different frequencies.
Yeah, I find it fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And one of the biggest things that I love, because, you know, I love the Enneagram, I love astrology, I love human design, I also love Ayurveda. And what I found so interesting about your system is the body focus. So how can you tell someone's natural number just based on the body? It's fascinating to me.
Well, we did 12 years of research working with over 5,000 people in person and another 3,000 online and via video. And essentially, we can look at how you move. So that there are 3 centers in the head, 3 in the chest, and 3 in the core of the body. Depending on which one is active, you move from that region of the body. You initiate your movement, it's your balance point, and it's the center around which you move. So when you ask someone to dance or turn in a circle or jump up and down, they naturally move from that part of their body.
And we tend to gesture from that part of the body. If you watch Susan, her center's just here, and she'll gesture from here.
At the heart center,
yeah.
Exactly.
And I move up and down because my center's up here.
At the top of the head. And you, Bridget, you lift here at the top of the manubrium. And often for 3s, that's your natural number, the movement at that height of the body is like really hard for other people, but really easy for you. So the movement, the structure of the face. So for example, 1s, 3s, 6s have longer, narrower faces, typically. You know, there's obviously ethnic and genetic differences, but there's a preponderance, right? So we look for consistency across all of these attributes. The quality of the eye. Are you looking to make a connection with your eyes, or are you just looking to see? The muscle hold in the face is actually quite different. So, for example, when a 3 smiles, the outside cheeks come up, and you get a secondary smile line, and a smile goes all the way into the eyes. And I've heard that described somewhere as a very, a soulful, joyful smile, and that has to happen for that experience of the soul's joy to shine. And that might be true, but it certainly happens for 3s. And so our way of being is amazingly consistent and determinative of our natural number. And once you learn what you're looking for, you start to see it. But normally we don't hang out with people of our own same natural number. And in families, it doesn't repeat. And even in the workplace, there's usually a tremendous amount of diversity. So we don't get to see like 6 people just like us very often, where you can really start to see those physiological similarities.
What I love about this too is that it really invites us all to understand that we all have this unique nature, and that when we come together in a group, we're not always like the people who are similar to us. And with that being said, when we have that group dynamic, everything is amplified because everyone's able to be in their natural state. It makes me think of just team dynamics as a whole. Have you seen that in groups, and what happens in those types of spaces?
Yes, we've seen a lot of things. And one of the first things we thought would happen is you get a bunch of people, each of the 9 natural numbers together, but it would be really incredibly dynamic. But as it turns out, it becomes a lot calmer. Because what happens is that when we know who we are, each of us, and when everyone in the group knows their natural number, we know what our superpower is. We know what it is that we can do that the others can't do.
And the gifts we're offering.
Yes.
And we know what the gifts of the others are, so we know how to receive them.
So we don't try and do what we're not that good at. Obviously, in any situation, everybody can do anything. We're not saying that certain people with a certain natural number have to do certain things, quite the opposite. But how you do it is going to be completely dependent on your natural number.
And you can learn to activate online in your own body. When you first do, they're just baby powers, but they absolutely give you access to different perceptions. They change how your senses work to a certain extent and give you access to different information that you don't normally have access to. So you broaden your spectrum of availability of information 8 times. But your natural number remains your superpower because you've been developing your ability to use it since you were born.
It's like the big permission slip to be yourself. Like number one, to be yourself, to do the things that come naturally to you. And something that you both said during my reading with my husband, it really stuck with me, which was that just by smiling, you can light up the world, you can light up the room. And that's always been something I had heard and felt. But of course, the logical mind comes in. I'm sure this happens for other natural numbers too, which is it can't be that easy to just smile.
Well, only 3s get away with that. I mean, we can smile, but we don't have the same impact. When you smile, it's because you're sharing the joy you feel in your soul about life. When other people smile, they smile for a whole variety of reasons. But when you share that joy, that does light the world up. But each of the natural numbers has something equally fantastic that they do and equally important they contribute that is exactly that easy.
And I think one of the advantages of knowing your natural number is that you can start to feel honored for who you are and even get to the stage of not disbelieving the magic you can do.
Right.
Because as you said, intellectually, you may think, well, does smiling at somebody really light them up? But if you don't disbelieve, you can see the effect that you have on people. Many people with your natural number 3, say that people say, you've made my day by smiling at them, because you literally have.
You literally have. And I've had a lot of 3s actually say, well, it can't be just the smile. Of course, it's way more than the smile. But the smile is the expression of the soul's joy. And there's nothing more powerful than that, as it turns out. So
for you, it is that easy.
Yes. And we do something, each natural number does something different. And, you can learn to receive that. You can learn to connect to people. So, we know when we're with you, we actually do a more lifting and we give you a little more focus than we might otherwise. And that we know that when we do that, we're going to get this joy back from you. And we're very excited to have that experience. And similarly, when I'm with Martin, if I'm not understanding him and I activate the top and back of my head, which is his movement area, he'll make more sense to me. And it'll change my pace and I'll be aware of different things. When I do that, I start to hear little noises all over the place that I wasn't paying any attention to. But now I'm more aware of them. I can hear the boy outside. I can hear the whirring of and normally, if it's not right here in this energetic field for me, which is where I live and where your husband lives, it's not there. It's not within my reality. So each of us have very different perceptions of what's going on around us. It's very cool.
It is very cool. And I want to dive into, a very brief overview of each of the numbers. But before we do that, I'm always fascinated, and I find others are fascinated about the human behind the body of 9, about you two. How did you find this work? Or as I typically like to say, how did this work find you? So I'd love for the 2 of you to share your coming into this world and what you were doing maybe before you found and ended up in this work?
We met way back in
93, give or take.
91.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks after I married my second husband. And we immediately liked each other. And we would go out to lunch and we would do things, but it was just not the timing in either of our lives for us to connect.
Yeah, we both have a technological background. My background, I went to the University of Manchester back in the late 70s. And Susan will share with her experience in just a second. But we were in technology, we worked in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley for the better part of 30 years. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until we got back together in 2007, 2008, that I was able to join Susan, who'd already started on this path in about 2002.
Right. When we lost touch for 13 years, and both of us went down some rough roads. And at the end of that period, both of us had also done a lot of work. And for me, I had started with Al-Anon and then gone on to become a life coach. And I had taken a leadership program and was part of this leadership program with the Coaches Training Institute that I found out my natural number. And it was fundamentally profound, life-changing experience. And it was just like this big message to me that this is what you were meant to do. You were meant to tell the world about this work. And from that moment forward, I have not diverged off that path, which is very unusual for a 6 to stay on a path this long. So, it has become the most interesting. And, I grow constantly as a result of doing this work.
We both do.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. And yeah, we hooked back up in 2007, and he was the first person I ever identified on my own. Wow. I had been in a school with the people that made the first observations of this work. And so that there's a very sweet video on our website buried somewhere of that experience of the two of us. It's one of my sweetest moments.
We were lucky enough because my background in the computer side and Susan's background in marketing and finance has really helped us build the organization that we have today. And so if we need to do something technical, I can do it. If it's more financial or more marketing focused, then Susan can do it. And we work very strongly together to take our background. And how I was affected was that as a computer programmer, I went into computers so that I could turn them off if they were disappointing me. I didn't really get on well with people and didn't enjoy my interaction with people. But having worked through and activating all 9 in my body, I actually enjoy people more than computers now. So it's a major switch in my life.
Right. Well. So he was skeptical at first, which is one of the rules or jobs of 5 is to remain skeptical until whatever they're being presented checks out in the map of understanding that they have. But we went off to Burning Man in 2012, and that's where we really dove into the physicality of the work. And we started going to festivals, and we started working with as many people as we could. So we did this work for free for the first 9 years while we did our research. Those first 5,000 people were identified, at events that we held or events we went to. As a result, we stood in front of a lot of people, and a number of them with very few clothes on. And a lot of people in the course of one day, there were a couple of days where I did over 100 people. And that is super intense. But what I learned was the micro movements and how the micro movements reveal and how many they are. And, so I got this amazing education. Martin and I are both good observers.
And at the same time, while Susan was identifying, I was watching, also seeing the movements from a different place. And I was talking to each of the people we identified, telling them
and asking them
what people had said about their reality and what was their reality. So we were able to distill the words that are specific to each of the natural numbers. And every time we work with a natural number, we try and always use those words, what other people just like them have told us.
Right.
So we don't
those words don't necessarily make sense to us.
Yeah.
But if I use my 6 language to describe a 3 experience, it wouldn't really quite work because they're not the same words. They don't mean the same thing. Even words like intuition, energy, joy, soul are very, very different from natural number to natural number. So we learned that, we really distilled it down to very specific, we have our 2 books. And this is everything that, that we knew at the time. I gotta get them right. And there's a very specific description with very specific language for each of the natural numbers, because you really don't understand the language of the others until you can learn to activate and spend some time in the space that they live in.
It's fascinating work. And you are both really the epitome and the example of how experience is our greatest teacher. You had so much experience watching people's body, watching the movements, and it really makes sense for what you are doing in the world now. So thank you for stepping up to the
Mhm.
call.
It's almost been as if we haven't had a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
yet every day we have to choose again,
Yeah.
right?
Energetically, the universe asks us, are you sure? Are you willing to do what it takes? And our answer every day is yes, because it is a calling, and it does take.
Well, and if you think about if there, let's make the assumption that this is true. There are 9 physiologically different kinds of people, and humanity doesn't really know about this right now. That is tremendously detrimental to our understanding of ourselves and each other. That our nature is not understood. We only seem to understand the nurture that layers on top of it. We're understanding trauma and trauma healing. We're understanding personality. We're understanding how do we get over our the things that have our stuff. But we don't know how to get back to this core, beautiful, easy place that we were born to live in. And wow, it when you don't work so hard, it's a hell of a lot nicer. Excuse my language there. But so that's why to us, it's like really critical that humanity knows about this. It's not a small thing.
Would you be able to go over just a very brief overview of some of the numbers? So if someone's listening, they can start to, tune the ear in, lean forward of, oh, is that me? Or is that someone I know?
So I'll give the context overview. That's what a 5 does, and Susan will give the detailed truth-oriented part of it, which is what a 6 does. So there are 9 numbers. There are similarities to the Enneagram. We believe the Enneagram is pretty much the nurture side. This is the nature side. And it's not clear the Enneatypes really understand the body as well as perhaps we do. But the even numbers are very body-based. The odd numbers are less body-based. We all have bodies. We know what our bodies are doing, but how much do our bodies influence our decision-making? It's very different even to odd numbers. Natural numbers 1, 2, and 3, and 4 actually tend to be relationship first, then process. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, process then relationship, if they know relationships at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, build relationship by being with people. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 need to have some shared experiences before they can build relationships. So just at the very basic level, we're very, very different. But individually.
So each of the natural numbers has a specific function or purpose at our core. So 1 is about how do we learn how to honor each other. The movement centers at the base of the throat, base of the right under the chin, really. And 1s are here to honor us. They're here to help us know that it's okay not to be perfect. They're here to teach us that all people should be treated fairly and equally. And they hold onto this for humanity and help us to see that beauty and creativity that comes from source is healing for us. Beautiful. Natural number 2, the movement areas, the upper abs. They actually, their upper abs typically, if they haven't been sucking them in their whole life like most women have, they actually should stick out. And you'll often see 2s decorate that part of their body or wear high-waisted things because it accentuates that area. They are here to help us connect, to engage, and to enliven our experience of each other. Because in reality, they know that we have to be together in order to actually get anything done. And the 2s are the ones that are out there connecting us one by one by one by one and over and over and over again. And then 3 is about how do we inspire people forward at the level of our soul? So we're all doing our best work. Because that's really what we're meant to be doing here is our soul's work, not anything else anybody else told us. There's something specific that we can each find. And 3 helps us to find, articulate, and manifest that.
Yeah, we each have a natural purpose, and 3 really helps the natural purpose come forward.
And then 4 is about our relationship with ourselves, about how do we learn to be authentic. The movement area is the low abdomen. The bottom part of the abdominal muscles, 2 is the top and 4 is the bottom. And it's about knowing ourselves inside our bodies, to know our emotions and to understand that they provide the wisdom to us for our decisions and our a way of being together. And so that we can know what authenticity means for us, that other people can feel that true authenticity that is then available for true intimate connection that is not actually personal. It's just we're together at the level of our being. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 help us build and learn how to build connections, relationships, engagements. And to start our work in the world from those places. And then 5 is
very much about context. It's about knowing and learning as much as we can learn, because when we learn, when we have context, we can figure out what it is we need to learn to get to the next place. And 5 very much builds spaces for other people to reach their best place, if you will. So find out, what do we know? What do you need to know to get to where it is that you need to go? And 5 provides that context to people.
And all of these have a lot more to them than these simple explanations, but these is sort of the core function is where we're focusing. And 6 is about moving things forward. How do we bring energy into, read the energy of the universal field, what's wanting to happen within the community where we're working, and how do we get people moving on the path for the greatest good? To enliven and energize the process. So 2 is enlivening and energizing the relationship. 6 is enlivening and energizing what we're doing together.
And 7 is about, what is the process? How do we optimize it? How do we change? They're the change agents. Any situation can be made better. And 7 is going to be telling us how to make it better. And sometimes they will have hugely visionary goals. We think Steve Jobs had natural number 7, and look what he changed in terms of how he changed the world in computers and how to communicate, listen to music. He changed a lot of the world. So 7's about giving us that vision that we can all get together and move towards.
And then 8 is, how do we land that and make that real and make it safe for everybody? Because there are good ways to do things, and then there are crappy ways to do things. And 8s are the ones to help us know what are the good ways to do this, and that are safe and have integrity and will last and support all of humanity, all of the earth, all of the animals, everything. So everything is taken into account by our 8s.
And then 9s are about helping us keep the flow and the harmony and the balance in relationship and in the world. 9s know that everything we do affects everyone around us. And that is relatively unique for natural numbers. And so they help us keep together, move together, make sure that everyone's included, and make sure that things happen without a lot of force, because force doesn't feel good to anybody. So those are the 9.
Amazing. Amazing. The word that keeps coming to me is like a balanced ecosystem. If more people understood their natural number and then how they interacted in their power and then how they could understand the others, I just see this, a more balanced world.
Yes,
completely.
Where Martin doesn't really like the word tolerant, but the reality is we develop so much more tolerance towards that which is different. We have so much that layers on top, so there's all those differences. But if we at least understand how we're alike and how we're not alike each other from a body-based level, it's a great place to start from.
And in relationships and in family, we believe that we give love from our natural number center. So we're used to receiving love from certain natural numbers. And so we're attracted to different natural numbers. We are not attracted to other natural numbers that maybe had a negative influence on us. But this ability to see people as a gift. And it's not a question of, well, if you were just a bit more like me, you'd be perfect. That doesn't happen if you know that the other person's natural number has another gift for you, because you know they're not going to be like you.
Right.
And you know how.
Right. And they really have something to offer you that you don't naturally gravitate towards. We have a 2 daughter, a 7 daughter, and an 8 daughter, and each one of them has taught me so much about how to be with 2, 7, and 8. And 2 has actually taught me how to be with everybody. How do I connect with people? It's, sometimes as a 6, I don't really care. And, to her, that's like, what do you mean you don't care?
And then
what's wrong with you? I'm like, well, no, I just don't care. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't care. But then I remember how nice it is to be in connection. And like, well, actually, maybe I do care.
And then learning how to activate the other 8 gives you something that you really can't get from a psychological model.
Right.
A model is going to tell you where you're at. But this, knowing your natural number, not only tells you who you are, but also gives you the opportunity to be more like some of the other natural numbers, which means that you can hear people better. As Susan said, we can activate natural number 2, so it's much easier for us to listen to our natural number 2 daughter without
or even to each other, as it turns out.
It's always great to connect to each other. Natural number 2.
Yeah, and when we remember to do that, we're like, oh yeah, we do like each other, right? Yeah.
So it makes everything easier, and it removes a level of fear that I think environments try to put fear on us to give us some element of control somewhat, but that's kind of a little bit.
Well, my favorite thing really about it is that it's evolutionary. So first you find out your natural number and you awaken that in you, and then you're like, oh my God, I can be me. This is okay. I'm actually good. I'm not all the things that everybody said I should be. I don't have to be those things. I could just be me. So there's this deep validation of your strength and your superpower. And then you start to learn about the others, and the world starts to make a little more sense. Because if you didn't know about this, there's no context for understanding. How can Brené Brown be right? How can each of the big thinkers? They're actually teaching you about how to be like them, and so it resonates for 1/11th of the population, or 1/9, 11% of the population. So, or it may be information you need, so it may resonate for you, or your mother gave you that information. So the point there is, you can start to learn about the others so that you can start to receive that wisdom and let them do that job. So evolutionary, that we don't know what's beyond learning to activate all natural numbers in our bodies, because that we've done that, but we don't know what it would be like to live in a community beyond the immediate family. And our kids all can activate all 9 energies in their bodies, 9 natural numbers. And we have about 6 or 7 or 8 students that could do that as well, that we've been working with for over time. So we're at the beginning, burgeoning, early adopter stages of teaching this and researching this. We get asked questions all the time, well, about, have you looked at this and that? And no, not yet. Please help us. We're really looking for our partners out there to delve into, what does this mean for humanity? Because it could potentially be huge.
It's so beautiful to see the two of you just so passionate about this work too. It's very obvious just in the way that you speak about it, your presence in relation to it. So again, thank you for saying yes and continuously showing up for this work. It's so apparent that you love what you teach and you embody it so beautifully. I know that you have so many things going on within the body of 9. So I'd love for you to share with the listeners how they can, dip their toes into the water, where they can start, how they can support you.
Well, the first step is always getting your natural number identified. You can go to the website, bodyof9.com, and right up there, it tells you get your natural number identified. You can get it done by individually or in a couple, as you did, or with your whole family at one time. We can either do it in person if you happen to be in Bozeman, Montana, or we can do it over Zoom. We've developed our skills because of the pandemic to be able to actually see it through an experience and give you enough of an experience with it. So that's the place to start. If you're a coach or a holistic practitioner, we are partnering, or a teacher of coaches and holistic practitioners, we're looking for partners. And we have a whole partner program that you can start off as a basic referral partner. You can become a master of Body of 9 through our mastery program, which is designed to help coaches and holistic practitioners figure out how to integrate this into what they're already doing. And then we have our certification program that kicks off actually March 25th, 6th, and 7th. If you want to come, we'd love to have you. And that's true for anybody. You can start it right now, or you can wait. And
certification process is basically enabling you to teach others about Body of 9, even more so than just include it in your practice.
And it's designed to help you learn to activate all the energies in your own body, which is the first truly evolutionary piece after learning to find out your natural number.
And also, excitingly, we're starting to work with a number of authors. We are writing chapters from other books, and we're starting to develop books where we know the natural number of everybody, all the authors on the book.
Right. That comes out in April. I think it's the 12th or the 15th. I should probably know that.
Yeah.
Yes, through AMA Publishing, and the book's called Sacred Redesign.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the authors of that book have been identified. And so their wisdom is put in the context of their natural number. And that is the first of its kind, which is very exciting. And all of the information will be on the website, bodyof9.com. Yeah. And for your listeners, we're offering a 20% discount using the code BCISCO-2022-PP.
And we'll send that out so you can share it with your listeners.
Yes, shortly. Absolutely.
It is
get identified. Yeah.
Phenomenal work. I didn't realize the Sacred Redesign book had everyone's numbers in it. I think that's fascinating. My last question is, can you tell someone's number just by watching them on stage? Do you know Brené Brown's number?
I think she's probably a 4. Yeah. Yes. And sometimes it's not as accurate, but yeah, that's typically how we identify now is by watching you move, listening to what you talk about, looking at your face, the structure of your body. And, the preponderance of evidence suggests she's probably a 4. I'd rather work with her in person. So, Brenny, when you're ready for that, let me know.
Yeah, we work with literally tens of thousands of people, celebrities. People tend to ask us, what is this person's natural number? It's not as easy to know, and we never get the feedback because obviously as part of the identification process, we want to make sure you're happy about what we say. But if people aren't wearing their stage makeup and they're not sort of doing their stage persona, because a lot of people are trained to look like somebody they're not.
Well, basically to even out your natural number tendencies and make them more. So it gets harder and harder to see the more stage you are.
Thank you. I had to ask. Well, this has just been fascinating. I am so grateful that I've been connected to the two of you. I think your work is just fabulous. And as you were talking today, I'm like, this needs to be in schools. This needs to be in all organizations. This needs to be on all corporate teams, any type of business team. I can just only imagine if people recognize themselves and then the other, humanity would look a little differently. So thank you so much, Susan. Thank you so much, Martin. This has been fabulous today. Everyone, go check out their website. Go grab your natural number. Maybe do a reading with your husband or your partner like I did with mine. And it will just open up such a beautiful window into your soul and who you truly are. Thank you so much, the two of you. And thank you to everyone who's been here today.
Thanks, Bridget.